Hi guys, I'm Nia Gonzalez. We're down here at the office of the opposition leader, Mr. David Granger. You've posted several questions to him on the interactive session, and we'll go upstairs now and let him answer those questions for you.
First question this week came from Joseph Sampson, who's a member of your Facebook page. His question is, Mr. Granger, my name is Joseph Sampson. I have been residing in the UK for 10 years and considering returning so as to be closer to my family and to serve my country in the health sector. My two main issues are lawlessness in our society. For example, the way public transport is run. Minibuses overloading and the operator's attitude towards the traveling public. How quickly would an APNU government fix such a major problem?
Dear Joseph Sampson, this is a problem for all of us, not those of us who are living overseas alone. And as you know, public security and human safety are two of our most important priorities. And I would say that from the word go, we are going to pay attention to these two factors, security and safety. Now, as far as the roads are concerned, there are far too many road accidents. In fact, Guyana has a terrible reputation in the Western Hemisphere, and it is caused by lawlessness on the road. It is also caused by, there are too many cars on the road. It's caused by, bad driving habits, driving on the influence of alcohol and so on. So this is the top of our priority list. But let me explain. First of all, we have got to ensure that the police force is reformed. Right now, the police force has had over 14 I would say bodies of recommendations, but they have not been fully implemented. I myself have been a member of the Discipline Forces Commission, but the recommendations have not been implemented. So what I would say is this: our first priority would be to make Guyana safe, not only for you coming back home, but also for people living here. And it is not just a matter of road safety, it's also a matter of safety from piracy, safety from domestic violence, safety from banditry, safety from all sorts of other crimes. And these crimes are caused largely by having a weak police force, and also by the fact that Guyana is part of the South American mainland, and we are susceptible to narcotics trafficking in persons, contraband smuggling, gun running, and all of these things have to be tackled. So it will be done in phases. First of all, we start reforming the police force, and secondly, we will get rid of the factors, the transnational factors, which are causing crime and criminality, the criminal violence in Guyana. As far as the roads are concerned, let me say this. The roads are already congested, and we have to look more closely at the possibilities of public transport. It is not possible to increase the road mileage in the short term. So in the short term, we have to improve public transport so that school children and mothers can get to school.
The second question coming from Mr. Sampson focuses on VAT and taxes. In January of this year, my wife and I, on her visit to the UK, bought a Honda CR-V which we planned to ship home to Guyana. On her return to Guyana, she made inquiries in regards to the importation of said car. She was informed by the Revenue Authority that the car would cost us 7 times the cost of what we bought it for in the UK, and that it is just for importation duties. Sir, how would you fix such a problem so that young professionals who are trying to make it work for themselves and their young families in Guyana?
Well, it will be difficult to fix, but we will try to ensure that young professionals can live comfortably. And of course, if you are living in the United Kingdom or United States or anywhere else outside of Guyana and you remigrate, there are concessions. So you'll be able to bring in your car without paying much duty. But if you casually go to a foreign country for a few weeks or months, you will not qualify. And this is because persons could use such a scheme to import cars illegally. They can go for holiday and sell the car as soon as they come back to maybe a car dealer. And that would be aimed at avoiding the payment of dues or duties, taxes and so on. So it will be not in the best interest to give license to persons who simply go overseas for holiday or to spend a few weeks or months and come back with a card. The roads are congested, and as I mentioned in the first part of your question, we are aiming at improving public transport. That's what you have in developed countries. You have metro, you have bus services, and we need to improve those services as well. But the possibilities of reducing taxes on cars, import duties on cars, right now is very low, because over 1,000 cars are being added to the roads every month, and there just is no way to put it.
The next question comes from Lamont Parker. Mr. Granger, what are your thoughts on a coalition with AFC and either Moses Nagamutu or Kemrad Ramchitan share the first term equally?
From the start of our relationship with the Alliance Change, that is in January 2012, we have proposed an alliance, some sort of memorandum of understanding so that we can cooperate when we go into the National Assembly. It is up to the Alliance for Change to accept that MOU, and as far as I'm concerned, it is still on the table. We have never withdrawn it. APNU is the partnership that is committed to national unity, and I will always keep the door open to the Alliance for Change and any other parties which share our objectives. So my thought is, yes, we should have an alliance. As far as the roles of Mr. Nagamutu or Mr. Ramchitan are concerned, that's left to be decided. But first of all, let us cross the first hurdle, let us set up a coalition, let us agree to a coalition, and then we could decide who gets what, where, when and how. But right now we have not even accepted the notion, the idea of a coalition. So I would say it is up to the Alliance for Change, but as far as the partnership for national unity is concerned, we're ready.
The next question comes from Daron John, who's asking about Region 10. Is there anything that can be done to change the situation in Linden?
Sure what you mean about the situation in Linden. If you're speaking about the PNC 18th Biennial Delegates Congress on the 26th and 27th of July, let me assure you that the disturbance that was caused was not caused by all the Lindeners. Most of the persons from Linden remained to the end of the Congress, and they were not involved in any disorder. You may be surprised to discover that many of the persons who were involved in this order were not even registered delegates. Some of them were trucked down, were bussed down, and they behaved in a disgraceful manner. But this is not typical of Linden. We do not have a problem with Linden. As far as we are concerned, the issues arose because the Central Executive Committee of our party appointed a person, Ms. Sandra Adams, as the coordinator. And certain persons in Linden refused to give her the key to the party's property. And most of the controversy arose out of the failure or the refusal of certain persons, not many persons, to give the key back to the PNC. So do not believe that Linden is a problem. I go to Linden, I know many Lindeners, and they have no problem with People's National Congress reform.
Rogers is asking about corruption. He believes that corruption is pervasive and in some cases blatant. We need to bring this kind of white-collar crime under control. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, for the longest while, Partnership for National Unity has been supporting a robust anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism act. That is one part of the problem in white-collar crime, because most of the white-collar crime is about tax evasion, it's about contraband, it's about narcotics trafficking, it's about illegal movements of money and money laundering. So we have made certain recommendations, and I'm glad that the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration is starting to pay attention to our recommendations. Only this year, they set up something called the SOCU, the Special Organized Crime Unit in the Guyana Police Force. And I believe only yesterday, that was Friday the 5th of September, a person was appointed to head that unit. So you can see who's dragging the feet. So as far as corruption is concerned, APNU is against graft, against corruption, but we are also aware of the fact that what causes corruption most of all is the fact that there is rampant trafficking in cocaine. And once you have narco trafficking in your country, you're going to find people with oodles of money, super rich people, who are prepared to use their wealth to bribe politicians, to bribe magistrates, to bribe police and revenue officers. That is the source of corruption. The fact that there's a lot of dirty money floating around in the country and nobody's putting an end to that. The other problem with corruption is the fact that the government itself, the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration, is not serious about rooting out corruption. And that is why APN has been calling for a public procurement commission. That is why we've been calling for a robust anti-money laundering law. Because these are ways, through the National Assembly, through robust institutions, that we can bring an end to graft and corruption. But the people who are responsible for graft and corruption are the ones who run the government.
The final question this week, sir, comes from William Adams. How do you plan to develop our infrastructure when the APNU or AFC administration assumes office after the next election?
Infrastructure is a big problem because Guyana is the single largest English-speaking Caribbean country. But what has happened is our country is divided into two. Once you get past the Essequibo River, you see broken bridges, broken stellings, potholed roads. It is very, very difficult to move about this country. There is a problem getting to from Linden to Linden. There is a problem getting from Linden to Bukwani. And the government is not paying attention to the sort of infrastructure we need to develop the country. On the other hand, the richest parts of the country are in the hinterland. The parts which are bringing in the gold and diamonds, which are bringing in timber, the most beautiful parts, the parts which are capable of generating tourism revenue, those places have the worst infrastructure. You go to even Parika. Parika is really the gateway to the hinterland, but look at the stelling, it's a wreck. It looks like a 19th century wreck. So we have a shadow minister who is responsible for public works, for public infrastructure, and we are going to give Guyana what I would say is a circle of roads that will allow Guyanese from every one of our 10 regions to move about. But not only in the hinterland, we also have to provide good infrastructure for people in villages and in certain city wards. If you go to Sophia, because I think the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration is aware that many people in Sophia do not support the administration. And you see some of the worst roads in the country. You go into villages that support the PPP, you'll see good roads. You go into villages that don't support the PPP, you'll see bad roads. So we have a non-discriminatory policy as far as infrastructure is concerned. It is not only roads, bridges, but it's also city fences, but it's also infrastructure for schools. A couple of years ago, there was a case, a very bad case in Maruka, in which a child it's not laughable, wrong in a latrine at a primary school. So you need to look at infrastructure not only in terms of roads and bridges and stellings, but also in terms of the safety of our schools. And one more thing, to get to most destinations in England, you need airstrips. And I go to England very often, and some of those airstrips are dangerous. Every so often you see a plane running off the airstrip. Why? Because the airstrip itself is potholed. The airstrip itself is like some of the roads in some of the communities. Instead of being posh, instead of being safe, some of them are too short, some of them too narrow, some of them have bad surfaces. So there's a huge infrastructure problem which the government is allowed to fester. Infrastructure deteriorated over the past 20 years, and APNU intends to put it right by having contracts awarded to credible contractors who can have their work checked so that we don't keep paying bundles of money for poor workmanship. So we know what we have to do. We go around the country, we speak to people, and we see the deficiencies. And once there's an APNU administration, we're going to rest assured there's going to be better infrastructure than we have.